Tax return for employees in Germany. It's a very complicated topic, but it does not have to be. In this video, I will cover the most important information you need to know as an employee in Germany when it comes to filing a tax return. It is possible that as an employee in Germany, you have paid too much tax in advance, which can result in a tax refund. However, it is also possible that you have paid too little tax, which means that you have to pay additional taxes. To file a tax return, you will need your 11-digit tax ID number, which you receive in the mail after registering in Germany. You may also need your 13-digit tax number, which can be found on your salary slip. Tax numbers may change if you move, but your tax ID number will always remain the same. If you do not have your tax ID or tax number, you can contact your local finanzamt or tax office to obtain it. There are 6 tax classes in Germany, but your tax class does not affect your tax return. The amount of taxes you are required to pay remains the same. It only affects the amount of tax you pay in advance, which is shown on your income tax statement called the Steuerbescheid. Since January 1st, 2020, married couples are allowed to change their tax classes multiple times throughout the year to choose the most beneficial combination. You can apply for this change at your local tax office, and it will take effect from the following month. Married or officially partner couples can either file a joint tax return with their spouse or an individual tax return. If married couples choose to be assessed together, they will be treated as one person. They file a joint tax return, receive one tax assessment notice called the Steuerbescheid, and if a tax refund is granted, it will only be transferred to one bank account. If an individual's income in Germany exceeds the basic tax-free allowance, Grundfreibetrag, they are required to pay income tax, Einkommensteuer. The basic tax-free allowance serves as a means to ensure a minimum standard of living, and this amount for 2022 and 2023 is 10,347 euros and 10,908 euros respectively. The implementation of wage tax was established to simplify tax collection for the largest groups of employees. This form of taxation involves an advance payment on your annual income tax and is automatically deducted from your monthly gross wage by your employer. Your personal electronic wage tax deduction details are used to calculate your wage tax, which is then transmitted to the tax office or the finanzamt on a monthly basis. You can find information about these deductions on your monthly payslip or Gehaltsabrechnung. At the end of each year, your employer will submit your annual income tax statement, Lohnsteuerbescheinigung, to the tax office by the end of February at the latest, and provide you with either a printout or an electronic copy. This income tax statement will be used in your tax return. If you receive wage replacement benefits totaling more than 410 euros in a given year, you are obliged to file a tax return in the subsequent year. It's worth noting, however, that it is possible you may have overpaid your wage tax while on short-term work or Kurzarbeit and may be entitled to a partial refund. Wage replacement benefits include unemployment benefits or Arbeitslosengeld, short-term work benefits or Kurzarbeit, maternity benefits or Mutterschaftsgeld, parental benefits, Elterngeld, sick pay, Krankengeld, after discontinuation of payment from your employer transition allowance, injury benefit, Verletztengeld, subsistence payment, Unterhaltsgeld, supplement care assistant benefits, Pflegeunterstützungsgeld, and Insolvenzgeld. I have a written article on my website if you want to get the latest updates on this topic. Individuals who are obliged to file a tax return must do so before the 31st of July of the next year. Failing to comply with this deadline may result in penalties. In the event that deadline falls on a weekend or a public holiday, it will be extended to the subsequent workday. Since the last couple of years, due to the pandemic situation, the deadlines for the tax returns between 2020 and 2023 have been extended. This implies that the tax office must receive your 2022 tax return before October 30th, 2023 and your 2023 tax return before August 31st, 2024. If the deadline is missed, the tax authorities may impose a late payment penalty of 0.25% of the assessed tax for every month or partial month, with a minimum penalty of 25 euros. Those who are required to submit their tax return and choose to ignore the reminders from the finanzamt may be issued with an estimated tax assessment. It is important to note that even if you receive an estimated tax assessment, you must still submit your tax return. Requests for extensions on mandatory tax return must be submitted and approved before the deadline. and such requests are usually granted only in exceptional and justified cases. Individuals who are not obliged to submit their tax return can file for a tax return up to 4 years in the past. For instance, if you wish to voluntarily submit 2019 tax return, your deadline is December 31st, 2023, and this deadline remains fixed at December 31st, 4 years later with no exceptions. Individuals who are not required to submit a tax return should still consider filing, as employees who are not required to file receive an average refund of 1,072 euros. Before 2017, you had to submit receipts or invoices for all of your expenses when submitting a tax return. However, this is no longer necessary. Instead, you must keep the original receipts in case the tax office requests to see them. These receipts could include bills, receipts, certificates, and purchase contracts. If you are claiming certain expenses for the first time, such as a home office, high medical expenses, or large donations, it is advisable to submit receipts with your tax return. This will save you time and help you get your tax refund sooner than later. You are required to keep all relevant receipts and invoices until your tax return is finalized, which happens 1 month after you receive your tax assessment notice. If you appeal or file a lawsuit against your tax assessment, you must keep your receipts until the proceedings are completed. Donation receipts should be kept for 1 year after receiving your tax assessment notice, and invoices for household related expenses should be kept for 2 years after they are paid. Some receipts, such as medical certificates, may need to be kept for even longer. Once your tax return has been assessed, the tax office will send a tax assessment. The tax assessment is a multi-page letter that has the same structure every year. On the first page, you will find your personal data such as your address, tax number, and bank details, as well as the amount you will be reimbursed or have to pay later on. If you are about to pay back taxes, you will also find the bank details of the tax office and the date by which the money has to be transferred to the tax authorities on page 1. On page 2, and in many cases also page 3, the tax office breaks down all your income and how the tax was calculated. If there are deviations, for example, if the tax office has not accepted all of your expenses, the tax officials must explain these deviations on the last page. If you think that the tax assessment is incorrect, you can contest your tax assessment notice in Germany by filing an appeal, which I have discussed in this video. Expenses related to your job are called income-related expenses or Werbungskosten. They cover costs such as commuting, business trips, workloads, professional insurance, and even expenses for setting up a home office or job applications. These expenses are necessary for you to earn income and are tax deductible. The tax office automatically deducts a lump sum of 1,200 euros per year as of 2022 from your income-related expenses, and this will increase to 1,230 euros in 2023. You don't have to provide any proof for this lump sum. If your expenses exceed this amount, you can claim them individually on your tax return, but you'll need to keep receipts as an evidence. Let's discuss the income-related expenses or Werbungskosten in detail so that you know exactly what expenses you can claim in your tax return in Germany. Please hit the like button if you're getting value from this video and consider subscribing for more. Commuting expenses, Fahrtkosten. This is probably the biggest expense that employees have when it comes to work-related expenses. Until January 1st, 2021, employees could deduct 30 cents per kilometer travel from work each day as a part of commuter allowance. This applied to all types of transportation. However, since January 1st, 2021, the allowance has increased to 35 cents per kilometer, and from January 1st, 2022 until the end of 2026, it will further increase to 38 cents per kilometer starting from the 21st kilometer one way. The deduction limit for commuter allowance is 4,500 euros per year, with a few exceptions that will require proof. For example, journeys to your primary home if you have a secondary residence for work, public transportation costs that exceed 4,500 euros per year, or trips in your own car or company car. Work equipment, Arbeitsmittel. You can deduct all the equipment you need for work as income-related expenses, Werbungskosten. However, the costs can only be fully deducted if they are used almost exclusively for work purposes. If you use them for personal reasons as well, you will only be able to deduct the professional portion. You have two options. You can either claim a flat rate of 110 euros for your work equipment or prove your individual costs if they are higher than this flat rate. Examples of work equipment include computers, smartphones, work attire, technical literature, briefcases, tools, softwares, office furniture, and office supplies. You can deduct up to 800 euros net or 952 euros including VAT per year in work equipment purchases. If your purchase equipment exceeds this limit, you have to depreciate it over multiple years depending on the device. The Federal Ministry of Finance provides a list of the depreciation years for wear and tear in this table. According to a new law introduced in 2021, operating life of a computer was reduced from 3 years to 1 year. This means that as of 2021, you can fully deduct computers, application software, and all peripheral devices that exceed 952 euros in the same year of purchase. However, the previous 3 years operating life will still apply for equipment purchased before 2021. So make sure you keep all of your invoices and receipts. Additionally, you can deduct repair, cleaning, and maintenance expenses for your work equipment. Home office. Starting from January 2023, the home office lump sum will be available indefinitely. You can now claim up to 6 euros per day, previously 5 euros, and a total of 210 days per year when working from home. The maximum amount you can claim is 1,260 euros per year, which was previously 600 euros per year. The regulations on home office have also changed. In the past, you could deduct up to 1,250 euros per year for your home office if you had no other professional workspace. But now you can claim the home office lump sum even if you have worked away from home or at your primary workplace on the same day. For example, you are an engineer who goes to the office and works from home to finish some project work. You can still claim the home office lump sum. If your home office is the core of your business, you can deduct expenses in full or a flat rate of 1,260 euros each year. Application cost or verbungs cost. You can deduct all expenses that come from applying for jobs, even if you don't get the job. If the expenses are not included in the income related expenses lump sum, you have to provide the proof of the costs. Additionally, there are job application flat rates that the tax office uses to calculate the average cost of 8.5 euros per written application and 2.5 euros per electronic application. You can also claim in application materials, application folders, printer cartridges, envelopes, transparent folders, writing paper, writing utensils, postage, and costs with making copies. In costs for self-marketing, you can claim application photos, advertisements, websites, telephone costs, and resume or CV designs. In travel expenses for job search, you can claim travel to interviews, overnight stays, parking fees, room and board, city maps, and even costs for accidents on the trip. In case you want to utilize your documents from another country or get training for a job, you can claim research and training costs, including courses, seminars, books, guides, journals, translations, notarizations, and police clearing certificates. Telephone and internet costs. You can deduct telecommunication and internet costs if they were used for work. You can also choose from a flat rate deduction of 20% of the cost with a maximum of 20 euros per month, or provide individual proof of cost and percentage of personal and professional use, which has no limit. If your professional telecommunication or internet costs exceeds 20 euros per month, or the tax office does not accept the flat rate, it's worth providing individual proof. There are other less common tax deductible expenses that you can show in your tax return. For example, double household management, child benefits, insurances like unemployment insurance, liability insurance, risk insurance, etc., capital gains, and many others. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a detailed video on these expenses as well, or if you have any other questions. One of the biggest expenses that you can claim in your tax return as an expat in Germany is the remittance you send back home to your family. This is called maintenance declaration, which I have discussed in detail in this video. If you want a step-by-step guide on how to file a tax return and submit it using an online platform, you can watch this video. So thanks for watching, bleib gesund, and I'll see you in this video.